Welcome to Reimagining Education, a podcast by Michigan International Prep School. I'm Amy Dunlap, and I'm excited to be here today for today's discussion. We've had an awesome opportunity to learn more about the inner workings of Michigan International Prep School, what we have to offer, and what we do from the experts who help provide a quality education, as well as from a parent's perspective. Over the course of this series of podcasts, you are going to hear from various departments on what their role is here at the school, and also hear from one of our amazing parents on their take as they see it through the lens of a parent. From mentoring to curriculum to social events, individualized pathways, the School of the Arts, and much, much more. So today I'm honored to welcome the school superintendent, Andrew Hulbert, and one of our amazing parents, Chambria Mack, to kick off the series today. So Drew, I want to start with you. You had sort of a dream and a vision that 7 years ago to start this school. So give me a little bit about what was that sort of vision and how did we land here today?
So I had the opportunity to spend a lot of time in the classroom teaching myself, and I always saw students that we didn't have the opportunity to really connect with. You saw a lot of faces throughout the day, and a lot of faces would come and go. And you never really had the opportunity to truly embrace and develop relationships. And I knew that in education, relationships were everything. If I wanted a student to succeed, I needed to connect with them on some level. And so through my frustrations over the years of not being able to connect with all those students, I began to develop an idea of how do we develop education in a way for students that really, really desperately need that relationship component of it. Some students, they can work their way through the classroom and through their career in school without needing that extra support. But in our environment today, most kids need a little bit more attention, a little bit more grace and love. And so a couple of us for years just brainstormed, how would we do this differently? How would we structure it? If we were president for a day, how would you build something and really do it? And so we really wanted to build something that had a mentoring support that allowed kids to truly have an adult in the room that would work with them, that would make sure that they were on pace, on task, and if any crisis really came up in their life, that we would find a way to either put a Band-Aid on it temporarily to get them professional help, or that we would be able to step in and help in some way or fashion.
So I love that. So I know we've talked in the past a little bit about sort of how it came to be of the name and then the logo and even the mascot. Can you kind of walk us through the progression of that and how we landed to where we are?
Yeah, so our name is definitely a mouthful, and I think some of our marketing team would have loved us to have a shorter name. But we knew that we were going to encompass our state, and so Michigan is obviously the heart and soul of where all of our kids live. But we also knew that we lived in a global environment now. And in order to be competitive in our world, you needed to have a global mindset. And so that's where the international part of the name came from. And we really wanted to prepare kids, not as a preparatory school, but we wanted to prepare kids for whatever their next was, whether that was a trade school, whether that was moving on to another school. We wanted to prepare them for whatever they thought was their next. And so the Michigan International Prep School, we felt, really encompassed all those things, even though it's definitely a mouthful. And then we continued to say, what in our environment really embraces a full team, full capacity. And we, everybody thinks of the honeybee. And so originally it was going to be a honeybee with a comb that we were looking at. And because in the honeybee community, there's the hive, there's a queen, but there's also all of them, all bees working together for the same mission, same goal. And so that was really what drove our attraction to the honeycomb. Was it's a strong network put together, and all the bees work in unison towards the same goal. And that's really what we wanted to do for kids, was all of us to have a really strong backbone and work together for kids.
Awesome. So, Chambria, I'm going to jump over to you for a minute. You have a unique story to what landed you here and landed your girls here ultimately. Can you kind of walk us through what is your story when it comes to the realm of education and school choice?
I have two daughters. My choice to find an alternative route was with my first daughter. I knew that she needed an alternative. I knew that the basic path to education was not going to fit her. Nothing in the basic realm of things fit her. That's her personality. That's how she operates. So I really set out to find something that would allow her to be herself and blossom while being herself. And so we landed here 6 years ago in kindergarten. This has been her only school, and I've watched her blossom just the way I kind of envisioned her to do so. So when it became time for my next child to enter school, Miracle was doing so well, it was just an obvious thing to continue this. And it's been so amazing to watch two different souls do the same thing two different ways. And that's the cool thing about this environment.
So I love that. So Chambria hit on something that I think is really important here at the school, is that two very different individuals. And we pride ourselves on being a school of one. We hear that thrown out. We hear the individual pathways. Talk to me a little bit about how, because that's kind of where your vision sort of started, and how have you seen that progress in what we're offering and what we're able to do for students?
Yeah, for sure. School of One was something that we tried to coin really early on, because every single student and every single one of our staff members, have different things that make them tick, and that drives them and motivates them. And so we originally called our enrollment team the adoption team, because we were adopting new students onto the network and into our family. But we needed to identify what their needs were, what do they need to be successful. And so many of our kids are coming to us because something's not working somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And so we needed to be able to identify that and then figure out what supports, what benefits can we add around them to make sure that they're going to be successful. And now we're rolling out different platforms, different ideas that will be a student support structure that really will encompass how we handle kids academically, socially, emotionally, even when it comes to behavioral or truancy types items. We now have built-in supports and early warning signs that will identify those quickly.
Awesome. Chambria, looking at the individuality and your girls being very different humans, what have you seen as sort of a support or a positive when it's come to the school from your perspective as a parent watching the two get a quality education?
I would say the mentor piece to it. The mentor piece is I often speak of it as being a safety net for the girls. So there's the educational, there's the curriculum piece, but there is also that constant of the mentor, that relationship with the mentor that helps bring out the individuality of the girls. So a teacher can't always do that in a setting of a classroom, but there is a mentor that's there to say, I see that in her and I can see it, and let me help you pull it out and we can talk about it. And I really appreciate that part of it. I think that's the key component to the individualism, if I could say it like that.
Yeah. Andrew, you mentioned that early on, is that you wanted to have a school where there's a mentoring sort of program, and we're going to dive into it deeper in a future podcast episode here. But sort of give us just a little bit of taste of what is mentoring and what was your vision for that?
Yeah, so we knew that teachers were really good at delivering content, working with kids academically, but not every student was in a headspace where they could begin to work academically. And so the original motivation was, how do we identify their early, the needs of the child, and then work with the family as a full unit. We always said that we wanted to digitally or virtually sit at the kitchen table with mom, dad, or whoever was supporting the student. And so the mentors, really, the idea is for them to virtually sit at home with the child, learn the family, learn the needs. How do we best support that family network in motivating the student and getting them academically successful?
So I love that. And that's kind of, you've, alluded to that in previous conversations that you and I have had about your experience here, which is awesome. What about you? You've added this other component. So we think about virtual schools. There's a stigma, I think, around virtual schools. Folks assume that there's a student sitting on one side of a computer, a teacher sitting on the other. But Michigan International Prep School has really taken it and elevated that idea and really innovated it. What does school look like here, and what are the various opportunities that students have that would break that stigma?
That's a loaded question, because there's a lot. There's a lot. I mean, down from our robust field trips to our learning labs, we had the idea of building drop-in learning centers where kids could come out of their home, or moms and dads could drop a kid off and have a break. There's a lot of pressure and intensity on the home coaches, mom, dad, grandma, whoever's sitting at home with the child. And so we really wanted the learning labs to be that opportunity for a mom or dad to have a break. Bring them in, sit with a mentor, sit with a teacher, have those opportunities. And so we currently have 4 learning labs, and we're doing our best to draw students out and create activities and opportunities for them there.
Awesome. Chambria, I know your girls have been into some of the labs. Thoughts on their experiences when they get to go in and things that they get to do?
It gives them that dose of school that they're missing, and it also gives them that dose of reality that they get here and they do it and they love it. Then they're like, okay, I'm ready to go back home. So it's like they get that. It's a little thing that when you're doing life one way, where you look at life another way and you think you're missing something. And then when they come in the learning lab, they're like, oh, this is it. Okay, but I'm ready to go back.
Small doses.
Yes, and they love it. They like it like that. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. There's so much that we could cover, and I don't want to dive too much into things because we have others that are going to come in and do that. But thinking ahead, this is year 7.
Yeah.
What are sort of your thoughts thinking from literally day 1 to now you're into the school year of year 7, and how far you've come?
Well, I'll tell you, we made a lot of mistakes. We've learned more from our failures than from our successes. But I can tell you that over the last year and a half, we have transitioned from learning from mistakes to now learning from successes. We're starting to see some of the fruits of our labors and some of the corrections that we learned early on. And so I really think that a parent or family can enroll now, start to finish, kindergarten to graduation, have a million opportunities, a million different pathways they can go, and have a seamless opportunity. And that's really exciting for me.
I love that. What about, do we have like a proudest moment thus far in 7 years?
Oh, to highlight one,
maybe a couple.
I would say we have 7, and that's 7 graduations. Every year our graduation numbers have increased mightily, and the student, the speakers. We had a young man last year that graduated. He had been with us for a long time, and then all of a sudden a light flipped in his head, and he completed 2 years in 1 just to walk across the stage on time. And so those are those victories, seeing the mom smile, the dad smile, the relief on a family's face when they know that we're going to be here, love them, and fill them with all kinds of kindness and do everything we can after they've come from probably a bad experience. And so we love being that safety net, that fallback kind of like, oh man, there is another option. And wait, it's an amazing option.
Yes, I love that. And I think too, something kind of struck me as you were talking there is we don't say, you've turned 18 and get out. We really embrace the fact that you could be just turning 18 and you haven't gotten a high school diploma and you want to finish. Talk to me a little bit about our adult learning program and what we're able to do for those older students who, for whatever reason, need an alternative pathway, and we get them there.
This is probably, for selfishly, one of my favorite groups, is because usually our adult learners come to us and they've struggled mightily, and we enroll kids up to the age of 22, and we get to see students that have really had life experiences that have been challenging, but now we give them a fresh start, fresh opportunity. Even if they're still in the middle of struggles, we have supports, we have social workers, we have opportunities for them to work through some of their challenges and still be academically successful. And so I would be lying if I said that we kick them all out at 22 as well. That we just don't get any funding for them after that.
And that's okay. I think that shows sort of your dream and vision truly coming to life and showing that we're going to help anybody be successful that wants to walk through the door, and we're going to find that pathway and get them there. So thank you both for joining me today. I want to give you one last opportunity to sort of anything you want to leave our listeners with as we're ending today for them to think on and ponder.
I was thinking on terms of the name. I think the name is perfect. I actually do. I enjoy telling people the name of the school my children attend because I do feel like the name tells a story, and it's an accurate story.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I would end with this is we're human, and we're humans that love kids, and we're going to pour into children. And if you're struggling with something out there, or you're in an education situation where you just need something different, we're a place for you. We're a solution for you, and we'd be happy to work with you and your family to figure out how we can support you.
Awesome. Well, thank you both again. Stay tuned, you guys. There's going to be more coming in this series as we dive into the various learning aspects that are within the school. But in the meantime, you can head on over to miprepschool.org for more information, as well as check out our social media channels on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And so have a great day, and thank you for listening in to Reimagining Education, the podcast.
Reimagining Education is brought to you by Michigan International Prep School, a tuition-free K-12 online school. If you'd like to learn more about us and what we do, you can visit our website at miprepschool.org. That's miprepschool.org. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast, and we'll talk to you soon.